Thanks so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast. It's not time for us to look at what the papers are reporting. The Nation newspaper, Tinubu wins 10.9 million votes, talking about the primary. And then there is this thank you all, to the readers. The Guardian newspaper, Tinubu to sustain reforms after APC's 10.9 million votes. The Nigerian Tribune, thank you all. Also having that on the nameplate, you see, we will place Nigeria on a irreversible path of economic expansion with another 4 years. That's according to Tinubu, as they get certificate of return for winning APC presidential primary. Next is the Hope newspaper, presidential race. Tinubu secures 10.99 million votes in primaries, gets APC flag. President pledges reforms, unity, stronger economy. And the Nigerian Direct newspaper, APC primaries, Tinubu pledges inclusive governance guided by best interest of Nigerians, extends hand of fellowship to opposition, okay, and promises a reversible path to industrialization, food sufficiency if re-elected. And the Leadership newspaper says, APC primaries, wave of resignations hit Bauchi, APC over alleged candidate imposition. And the Daily Trust newspaper, ADC presidential primaries, ADC. Most of all these parties are now sounding similar. Atiku, Amaechi, Hayatu-Deen battle for tickets. And then the Punch newspaper, 2027 race, ADC picks Tinubu's challenger today. Atiku, Amaechi, Hayatu-Deen fight for party's presidential flag. And then the Abuja Inquirer, 2027, Atiku, Amaechi, Hayatu-Deen battle for ADC ticket Monday. Tinubu wins APC presidential primary with 10.9 million votes. And then Observer Times, Eid al-Kabir or Eid al-Hada, residents lament as sacrificial animal prices soar by 300%. Ram prices jump from 130,000 naira to 500,000 naira. Low-income earners resort to meet. I also lose sleep, weight over economy, admits insecurity in the country, vows to fight it. APC president presents president with 2027 nomination certificate. The Platform Times, Dawn raises the alarm. 2.2 million kidnappings, 2.2 trillion ransom paid in 1 year. Identifies ungoverned forests as safe havens for armed groups. Advocates state police stronger intelligence coordination. And the Blueprint newspaper says, above the masthead, troops nabbed 13 illegal miners in FCT, rescued 92 kidnapped victims in Borno. And the Sport and Life is last but not least. Crystal Palace 1, Arsenal 2. Gunners lift PL title after 22 years, beat Eagles at Selhurst Park. Interesting. All right, then, let's get on to brass tack by looking at all of these, interesting, conversation. I'll be doing this with my colleagues, Olamide Etoma, and our in-house analyst, Biodun Shomi. We see President Tinubu dominating, most of the papers, APC in general, and then we have ADC, following suit. Tinubu has clinched 10.9 million naira, sorry, 10.9 million.
I think Ibrahim is looking for money this Monday morning.
When you mention figures, I think it's just a default for anyone to please. So the president actually picked, has actually picked APC ticket, and we see it's just like 893 short of 11 million votes. And to defeat his counterpart, who scored about 15 million votes. Olamide. Absolutely.
I think the APC, through the president, is sending a very clear message. We are not fragmented. We are not divided. Right. There is no, in our party, there is no internal presidential war. In our party, there is no prolonged primary crisis. This is no shade to the other parties. And in our party, we are focused on governance, coalition building, and alliance building ahead of 2027. As I'm always online, I saw some chatter online, and people were saying it's the power of federal incumbency, and I disagree. It's a power of ideological machinery. President Tinubu is aligning himself almost 2 years before the election, but history has shown that we tread cautiously, even when we are confident.
Most definitely. Treading cautiously, because if you see, the president saying, giving a thank you all to all Nigerians, Because if you look at Nigerian Tribune, look at the Hope newspaper, look at Nigerian News Direct, look at all of those papers talking about the president clinching the APC presidential primary. Before, we thought it was going to be consensus, but not they've actually gone the direct primary route.
Yes, and somebody said, what's his name? The guy that contested against the president? Osifo. Somebody said, why did Osifo come out? I said, it's democracy.
Absolutely.
He has every reason, and he's qualified to come out and try, But I'm wondering how he got the 15,000 votes that he got. That was a trouncing. That was a serious trouncing he had there.
So talking about Osifo, he's not new to the game. He was in the PDP. He picked he was an aspirant, in the 2023 general election, but then before he now defected to the APC. So he's also popular. He's not someone that is a walkover. It's just that President Tinubu has against over 1,200 votes that he secured in the 2022 APC presidential primary, which was even indirect primary, right? But it defeated even his closest rival, was Rotimi Amaechi at the time. And now, having almost 11 million naira for APC is...
11 million naira?
Did I say 11 million votes?
What is going on?
Maybe the president should just convert it to money for securing almost 11 million votes. That's to say that, he's sealed his candidacy and he's also sealed his love into the heart of the majority.
Look, the issue, I'm sure those who are opposing Tinubu today, the opposition parties must be in a shock. It has huge ramification. You only need to crunch the figures and see what does this represent.
That's right.
In the first instance, we had a result of people that voted in the last election, in the presidential election. You have roughly about 23, million, and then you have Tinubu had over 8 million. Now, when you look at those who voted in APC alone, those who registered, as party members, there are over 12 million.
That's right.
And then you have over 11 million people, almost 12 million, actually accredited, and the president won, with almost 11 million. If you put it in percentage terms, you will realize that the turnout turns out to be very impressive. So we had, the APC had 87.56% turnout. Now, out of that votes and the turnout, you also have the president, having 87.12%. If you are to translate that into votes today, it means APC, compared to 2023, APC members alone would have elected the president.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's a big worry for the opposition party, because for them, how do we catch up? Now, let me tell you another important thing. The difference between the votes, in percentage terms, scored by the president, in the presidential election in 2023, and the votes scored in the APC primary, there's a gap of 18%.
18%, yeah.
Which the opposition parties need to catch up, even to be on the same level. So, for me, I think this election is almost over.
That's a huge
the only
statement.
danger in it is complacency. The APC members need even to do more. They got all the party machineries to work efficiently, and they need to do more rather than be complacent.
All right, then let's move on to the Daily Trust newspaper, saying ADC presidential primaries, Atiku, Amaechi, Hayatu-Deen battle for ticket. If you see the Punch newspaper, it's also saying the same thing. The Abuja Inquirer also saying the same thing. Atiku, Amaechi, Hayatu-Deen battle for ADC ticket today. All of these, so when you see the opposition, you see Atiku Abubakar, who has been a serial contender. This time he's also not new to the game, but within the APC, we see Rotimi Amaechi. Hayatu-Deen is also very, very, he has deep pockets. All of those things can actually fly. But one thing that has set back the ADC is the fact that Peter Obi left the ADC for the NDC, and that has really affected the popularity, the momentum they gathered at the time. How would they topple the raging APC, so to speak?
Absolutely. The ADC is a party that their political chessboard is very interesting. And what do you mean? What do I mean by that? Each of those men, you know, Atiku Abubakar, Rotimi Amaechi, and Hayatu-Deen, they all represent a different vision for Nigerian opposition politics. And I'll explain what I mean by that. When we look at Atiku, Atiku is battle ready. He's nationally known. He represents the old establishment of Nigerian politics. Unfortunately, there's a lot of political fatigue with Atiku, whether he wants to admit it or not. When we look at Rotimi Amaechi, we are looking at a federal disruption. He understands federal structures. He has said that his governance is going to be based on merit and not zoning. He's somebody who understands the game, and one of the few southern leaders who actually has, you know, somewhat backing of the north. When we now look at Hayatu-Deen, this is a reformist. He's a technocratic outsider. As opposed to focusing on who should get the ticket and battling it out, these men should merge their forces and find who fits best where for the Nigerian, not for their ambition. But
there is a problem for the ADC because as yesterday, you know, Dumebi Kachuku, who leads another faction of the ADC, was actually, you know, picked by consensus as the presidential candidate, and they set up their own parallel executive team led by Kadir Bashir and national chairman Kingsley Oga. It is serious business, not to say problem.
Well, that's the story of the average Nigerian politician. It's my interest and not the national interest. It's my interest, not the party ideology. The party did not even have an ideology in the first place. You know, so with this factionalization and coming up with one presidential candidate while the others are still putting their acts together for the primaries, you already see chaos. You already see a party that is not stable. And as you said earlier on, the exit of Peter Obi also dealt a major blow. To that party. So how do you advise a house that is divided 2 days to election, or in fact on the election day? How do you advise them? You know.
All right then. Well, we can say on and on. We can talk on and on that, but then I know we still have to touch on it when we start discussing, you know, for the interview segment. But let's move on to Observer Time. Mr. Shomi, maybe look at Eid al-Kabir or Eid al-Adha. Residents lament as sacrificial animals prices soar by 300%. Ram, which used to cost around 130,000 naira to has now risen to over 500,000 naira. This Nigeria puts it Salah. Many Muslims may forgo Ram as prices hit 1.3 million naira. I wouldn't leave my family to come to your house, but I'm considering coming to your house because most likely I'm going to have to go to maybe Kara or Abeokuta on the day of Eid because of the price, and maybe my sacrificial lamb will now be slaughtered the following day. That's what I'm considering, myself and my family. How do you see this, you know, really biting hard, you know, for those who want to fulfill their religious rights?
To start with, Ibrahim, I need to advise you. If you buy your ram on Salah Day, just before the prayer, the price will have dropped by about 30%.
Absolutely.
Really?
Just before the prayer.
That's what I'm considering.
You need to really think about that. So what seems very clear is that we are not producing enough of this ram in the country. These rams are being brought in from outside the country, from Niger Republic, Chad, and all those places, and that's the problem. The first problem you discover is that in the course of bringing them down to other parts of the country, they encountered a lot of problems. You know, do not forget the terrorists are there who are also taking tolls from them.
That's right. And those were also cashing in as well. Some rams were raised.
From my own discussion with some of the ram sellers in Kara, near Lagos, around Baga, they had to, you know, put all their resources together and also make allowance for the terrorists so that they can bring in the ram, and that's what is driving
I told my mother I'm buying her half a ram this Salah. Things are hard. Half a ram
is not.
So who is buying the other half of
my
the ram?
No, I get that. All right then. So because I have to just look for ways to get it, because Olamide and Etiwa would not, and even Mr. Atiba would not allow me to raise.
Don't worry, I'm coming to your house.
All right then. Sporting life, Mr. Shomi. We see. Crystal Palace 1 and then Arsenal 2. Gunners lift PL title after 22 years, beat Eagles at Selhurst. You know, this is quite, you know, interesting. We've been celebrating these on and on and on and on. And what say you to this, quickly?
Well, you know, Arsenal has always been working alone for so many years, for 22 years. They keep eyeing the late Bukayo Saka, even though I never work alone. Congratulations to us.
Interesting. All right, then, because of our time, that's about it for the newspapers of a review. Still to come, With this level of support for President Tinubu, is the opposition already facing an uphill battle going into the 2027 election?